Okay, it just occurred to me why they put me last, because you've all been sitting there for hours and you're really uncomfortable, and I'm going to share with you why that's a good thing. There's something amazing about being comfortable. Sometimes we have a narrow definition of comfort, and anything outside of that is uncomfortable. Why do we strive for comfort? There's an ease to comfort. It's when we feel good. It's when we know what we're doing. It's when we're confident. Life can be pretty harsh sometimes, and in order to find a rest from that, we look to comfort. Or people tell us, know your strengths, get really good at them, pursue those. Why? Because we don't like to be uncomfortable. There's an idea called loss aversion. Loss aversion is when we're more concerned with avoiding loss than we are with pursuing something good. If we think something bad could happen, we will put all our energy into making sure it doesn't, rather than thinking about the good that might come from it. Let's challenge that way of thinking and turn it upside down. What is it that makes you uncomfortable? Will you intentionally choose it? Will you embrace it? In order to have the best life, I think you will. Embracing the uncomfortable gives you a feeling of power and courage and strength you just would not believe. Once you start it, knowing that you're not like the other people who will just settle for comfort or what you're good at, you are intentionally embracing the uncomfortable, and you have an experience and a story because of it that's all yours. For example, there was a point in my life when I didn't feel particularly great about anything. I just felt kind of like a brown paper bag. And being a brown paper bag is good because it's useful, but you can only use it so many times or for so many things before you yourself get tired of it. What if you tried something so strange, so counterintuitive to who you are as you define yourself, that it makes you tremble and sweat and creates terror? Wouldn't that be wonderful? It's uncomfortable. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about extreme sports or going all survivor mode or something like that. I'm just talking about kicking that brown paper bag syndrome and thinking about doing something that's outside of yourself. About 2 years ago, I decided to do a Couch to 5K training program. That's where you get up off the couch, where I'd pretty much been for the past 20 years, and you train for a 5K race. So I did my research and made up my schedule and taped it on the wall. And yeah, I taped it on the wall. And I was getting ready to do my training every day. During that time, I went through a low point in my life where looking at that training schedule every day, it seemed nearly impossible to face. Then it finally occurred to me, specifically because it was uncomfortable to look at that training schedule and do it each day, I had to do it. Because I didn't want to do it, because I wasn't good at it, because I might fail at it, I had to do it. I didn't have to be the fastest at the 5K race. I just needed to embrace the uncomfortable and finish it. When I was running that race, it felt like I was pulling boulders uphill. But I finished it, and it was a powerful moment for me. It gave me momentum. After that race, I had embraced the uncomfortable fever. I felt like, I need a goal. I need something to do next. Maybe I could run a marathon. 5K marathon, no big deal, right? I was embracing the uncomfortable. So I was trying to figure out how to do that training, and somebody said to me, well, before you run a full marathon, you should really do a half marathon because these are much bigger races and you need to get a feel for what that's like. So I went back to the computer and I did my research, made up my schedule, taped it on the wall, and I was marking each day off as I went along. Now consider the reward for me was that I would get to be with other people running a big race because I was training all by myself every day. I didn't know anybody else who was running a half marathon or a full marathon, so I would get to be with all the other runners. I was going to get to be part of the pack. I'd have the big start line and the big huge finish line and this whole big race day. I was so excited. The night before, I lined up everything that I needed. I had my running shoes and my power bars and my super cute running outfit, because that will make you run faster. I found that out. I was so excited for the next morning. So I went to bed, and I woke up, and I looked out the window, and I thought, it looks really light outside for being so early. Then I looked over at my husband, and he was just waking up too. And I looked back out the window and I thought, it almost looks too light outside for being this early. And then I looked at my bedside clock and it said 6:50 and the race started at 7 and it was 20 minutes to get across town. I had a million thoughts running through my mind like, I can't believe I overslept and what am I gonna do? And I don't have time to eat. I don't know where this place is. Maybe I should just stay home and forget it. Have you ever watched something that you struggled and worked so hard for, or every step of the way is a huge struggle, vanish just like that? I was having this movie running through my mind, and I was picturing, what will it look like if I show up at that race way too late? What will it look like if I stay home with nothing else to do because I'm supposed to be at the race? What will it look like when people ask me, how did the race go? Sometimes in life you have to picture what it will look like if you don't show up. That made me uncomfortable, and I decided I was going. So I threw on my super cute running outfit and grabbed my shoes and my power bar and flew across town. And when we got there, I saw these other runners lining up for the race. And I quickly realized that they were the 5K runners. What that means is the half marathon runners had already left, and the 10K runners had already left, and this was the last group to go. I had to find where my start line was. So I went behind this big building to this huge empty parking lot, and I saw this little sign that said, half marathon, start. So I stepped up to that line, and I started running, all by myself. And about a minute or two later, without the big pack of runners to guide me, it occurred to me I might be running the wrong direction. And I had to turn around and run back past that start line and beyond. So I'm dodging through all the other spectators because they didn't know where I'd come from. And I was so embarrassed. I was so discouraged. I just wanted to cry. It was the loneliest feeling running all by myself, even at this huge event. I just had to keep telling myself, you can do this. It's okay. You have to embrace the uncomfortable. I started that race as the last runner. I started that race all by myself. I started that race going the wrong direction. I started that race 24 minutes late. I finished that race, and I wasn't last.